Hi everyone, welcome on this webinar on how to build a landing page fast. First, as we always do when giving a webinar, some technical checks. Can everyone hear me? Just give a shout in the chat. Always nice to have some comments. All right. Thank you. Great. Cool. At this moment, we are with 50 people following this webinar online. We have more than 120 registered, but I guess that, of course, some of them will view the recording afterwards. As we always do, we will wait for maybe 2 more minutes to give the people that are a bit later also the chance not to miss anything about interesting content that we have to share today. Of course, this webinar is a bit different than other webinars we had in the past. We will try out a new format, a format we call a live design session, because we are really going to build today in 1 hour a landing page. It's very hard for the person who needs to click all the different parts of the landing page together. It's very hard to combine like building and commenting what you're doing. So Eva will join me today, and she will comment what I am doing in SiteManager. Before we really start building, I give a really high level information about how SiteManager is working. I think it will like last for 5 minutes or something like that, and then you will have the most basic understanding, and you will be able to follow easily what we are doing when building the webinar. I will now start sharing my screen. Can everyone see my screen at this moment? So now I'm sharing my screen. Okay, great. All right, cool. Yeah, thank you. Great. Eva, I suppose we get started?
Yes, let's get started.
Great, cool. All right. Welcome on this webinar, how to build a landing page fast. Like today, we will illustrate the most used features from the no-code engine. But first, we will give you a quick introduction how the platform works. This is a schematical overview about how 2 of our 3 engines works. We have 3 engines. There are some customers, there are some prospects, but SiteManager is a collaborative web design platform, and we let coders, designers, and end clients work together in one cloud platform. Today, we will focus on 2 of our 3 engines. We will focus on the content engine and on the design engine. Both engines are no code, so you don't need to understand anything from coding, HTML, CSS, JavaScript to be able to follow this webinar. When you look at this picture, you see on the right side everything that has to do with content, and you see on the left side everything that has to do with design. When you look at a web page, you see that a web page and most web pages are built out of different horizontal blocks that are built on top of each other. We call this kind of blocks sections. So if you see here where my cursor is, you see the hero section, you see like a feature section, an image with a content section, a card section, and a footer section. So that's the first top of the pyramid. The section is like a unique place on your website, on your landing page with unique content in it. To build new pages or to add sections to your page, you can use in SiteManager components. So components in SiteManager are reusable blocks that you can use to build unique sections with. In SiteManager, there are two types of libraries. You have like the system, the platform libraries. And then on the other hand, we also have private libraries. And private libraries are a pretty cool feature that are libraries of components that you build yourself, so that are not featured by the platform, that are not featured by SiteManager, but that are custom built by you in our no-code or code engine. You can save them in your private library and you can reuse them for projects you will build in the future. And of course, those components you want to build no code. So that is done with elements. So elements are the individual parts of a component. So in this case, if I take the image with content component, I have a couple of elements that are used in this component. The element image, the element title, the element default text, and the element button. So that is really basically high level explained how the content engine works. So to summarize, with elements, you can build no-code components, and components you can reuse to build unique sections on your website, on your pages. So that is the first part. The second part is how is the design engine working? Contrary to the content engine, where the content engine is, of course, what is on the website, what are the titles, what are the images? The design engine features how you can style your website. And also there we have like a pyramid foundation. So that means that on the foundation of our design engine, we have the global style sheet. So that means that by changing that style sheet, the corresponding elements will be styled accordingly. And that, of course, is very great. That means that when you start changing buttons or titles or images in a global style sheet, that means that all the elements and all the components, all the sections will be changed in that style accordingly. But of course, there are two ways to change from that global style sheet or to differ from that global style sheet. And the first way to differ is component styling. For example, if your global style sheet gives your header 1 styling, a font size of 36 and a color black, and you say, okay, but in that specific component, for example, in the image with content component, I want to have the header 1, the font size 36, so the color black, but I want every time I use and reuse the header 1 in that component to build unique sections with, I want to have it underlined. That's like the first way to differ from the global style sheet. And then the second way is is really to change the style of a unique place on your website, to change the style of your section. So this is the basic principle you should understand to be able to work with SiteManager. And now, Eva, I suggest we just go into SiteManager and start building our landing page. The landing page that we are going to build today in this hour we have is this landing page. So you see, this is a pre-built landing page just to visualize for you what we are going to build from scratch. But it's a pretty nice landing page, and we will now start building this landing page from scratch. Okay, let's get started. First of all, of course, we have our project settings page. I already prepared the page a bit, and we are going to log in to start SiteManager. Eva, I will now start building the components. So if you want to comment on what I am doing, that would be great.
Yes, all right. So hi, everybody. I would like to welcome you all today to our webinar as well. As Alex explained, he'll be building the landing page, and I'll be explaining what he's doing. The first component we're building today is a hero banner. a hero banner is something that's used on many web pages all over the world. So as you can see, we're starting off with an empty section. And we'll be trying to rebuild the hero banner we saw previously. So let's have a closer look at that hero banner. I see Alex already added an image. That was the image that we saw previously on the right side. There you go. And on the left side, we could see a composition of content elements. That was a title, a piece of text, and a button. And for that, we're using a structure. A structure is a feature we've developed in the design engine to allow you to bring together a collection of elements in a container. This is similar to how you would group elements that belong together in design tools such as Figma or Photoshop. So as you can see, Alex already added a title, some text, and a button. We'll be using a horizontal flex layout for the component, which means, or I can see that Alex is adding the width percentages. So the image on the left will be 50% and the content structure on the right will be 50% as well, so that both structures have the same size. And Alex is adding the content right now. As you can see, you can choose to set the default title to header 1, header 2, header 3. So this is a tip we give you if you want to set your title. He's also adding some text over there. There you go. I can see Alex already added the horizontal flex to make sure that the elements are stacked next to each other. And inside the content structure, the elements are stacked on top of each other. So we're using a vertical flex there. Let's see, what else? I think Alex set the height to automatic, which means that the height will automatically adjust in function of the size of the content that you add to your building block. And now we're having a closer look at responsiveness. So let's see how the component looks. Alex switched to a vertical flex, making sure that the content structure is stacked on top of the picture. And he's also set the width to 100% for the mobile settings. And let's see. So there we go. We have the first content block, or the first component. Next, we'll be building the logo banner. We won't be using a slider or anything complicated like that. We'll just be positioning 6 logos next to each other. And we'll also be adding a subtle line at the bottom of the component to mark the end. So once again, we want to go for flexibility and interchangeability, especially for components such as a logo banner, where you might want to add, replace, or delete logos. And that brings us to the second item of today's agenda, is repeaters. So Alex added a first image and set a logo. And we want to use repeaters. It's a practical platform feature that allows you to add component flexibility. So you decide which elements you use, and if you use it once or multiple times, and how they are positioned relative to each other. So once again, here we started with an empty section. We set the layout to horizontal, so the pictures or the images will be set next to each other. Alex added an image element. I think, yeah, as you can see in the right panel, the image is set to 16%, so we'll be able to position more or less 6 logos next to each other. And to make that image dynamic, we're applying the repeater feature. You can, Alex is going way faster than I can explain it. So, well, you can add the repeater feature by clicking the right mouse button of the component, or by going to the layers panel on the left side and select convert repeater, or you can also just use the shortcut keys Control R. I see that you can see that. Let's see what Alex is doing.
Now I'm going to add I converted it to a repeater, and I'm going to add the 6 logos to the content engine. This gives me the flexibility really to define how many logos I will add. But of course, I will now build it the way how we designed to build it. So, all right, this one is the first.
Yeah, so without the repeater setting, the component elements, which is an image here, is kind of fixed. So that means it can be changed. So you would have a logo banner, but you wouldn't be able to add any images. And by setting the repeater feature on the image element, you can add as many images as you like in the content environment where Alex is right now. And you can also change the order. So say you want to place the second image to the first place, you can easily do that with repeaters. We're also going to be setting the gap, which defines the space in between the logos to make sure we have some breathing room in this banner. There you go.
All right, this was a second component. Now the edges on Eva.
Will you be adding the bottom line as well, or have you added?
Yes, I already did. But
you already
like
did.
Not really visible because it's
it's still selected.
To the footer of the website, but you will see it when I now add like new components.
All right.
We will call this the feature components.
Yes. We're going for the third block today, the feature component, where we'll be combining the concept of structures that we used in the first block and the concept of repeaters that we use in the second block.
This is a tough one, Eva.
This is a big one. This is a more complex component, but we want to build it with maximum flexibility and interchangeability. So that's why we're using the content structures and the repeaters. Maybe again, we can switch maybe very quickly to the example page to make sure we can see how it looks.
Yeah. This one is a component we would like.
Yeah, that's the one. So if we have like a short component analysis, we can see that we can divide it in 3 layers. The first layer is a title that is that has a width of 100% on the top. And then we can see 2 columns next to each other with the image on the right side and some text on the left side. And on the left side, again, maybe you can see it, we can recognize a content structure and with multiple content structures inside of it. The content structure consists of icons on the left and text on the right. And the text on the right, again, is a content structure with a title on the top and a text on the bottom. And we want to use structures here as much as possible to make sure that we can switch titles with text, or maybe leave out a title or text, arrange the icon on the left or on the right. And by using these structures and repeaters, we can also build the next feature block a bit lower on the page, where the image is on the left instead of the right. And without using repeaters, you would have to rebuild this entire block from scratch, which would cost a lot of money, a lot of time rather.
So time is money.
Time is money. So with repeaters, we can avoid rebuilding the same blocks again and again. Yeah, so let's have a closer look. Let's start building.
Thank you.
So the first block we're building is a title that is set at 100%. Because it will be using the entire width of the web page. Next, we'll be adding the image that we saw on the right. And yeah, there you go, set it to the back to make sure that the title is on top and the image is on the bottom. I'm not sure if you already set the setting for wrap children for the title.
Yes, I already did.
Yeah.
That's on the high levels. It's on the banner settings, so I already did. So that means that, like, if I put this on 100%, it takes like 100% of the viewport width, and all the other blocks will be added below that one.
Yes. So as you can see, Alex also collapsed the layer structure or the layers panel on the left side to make sure that we know where exactly in the component we're working. So yeah, that's the title. We're centering it and adding some content. So again, because we're using a default title, you can choose which kind of header you're using. Again, allowing maximum flexibility of your component elements. We're also adding the image. And now for the most complicated part, but it's not that complicated once you try it. So we're inside a content structure right now. We're adding some padding. We've used the same padding settings for the other blocks to make everything look the same. And now we're inside a content structure and we're adding another content structure inside of it. You can see that on the left layers panel. And inside that content structure, we'll be adding a default title and a default text. There you go. We have the title. And the text we saw earlier that goes beneath it. Right now, they're still positioned next to each other, but Alex just set the flex position to vertical. And we'll also be adding the icon. And as you can see in the layers panel on the left, we have a content block with the icon. And then next to it, we have another content block with in that the title and text. And Alex will be adding the content here. So by using these content structures, again, the platform allows maximum flexibility and interchangeability. So if you would like to, you could also, because of the content structure, you could also position the icon on the right-hand side of the text and the title, or you could position the title theoretically underneath the text. So you can change whatever you want to change and avoid rebuilding the same blocks all over again.
Okay.
There you go.
That's
so
like,
we have
the basic foundation for filling up everything with placeholder content. It's not needed really in this engine to fill in all the different content sections on the right side. I will do that in the CMS system. And in order to be able to do so, Eva, maybe that's maybe interesting for the people to look. If you now see at the content, you see that everything has like a fixed form, so you cannot do anything with it. So that means that you only can fill in those fields in the form. But now I will change to repeaters. I will change it on two different levels. First on the primary level, so to be able to switch, for example, the image with the content block beside. And of course, because I want to repeat this group, the icon and now the title and the default text, I will also convert that one to a repeater like this. So you also see it here visualized by this fancy icon, right? I will now go back to the content engine, and of course here, the CMS doesn't know in what kind of composition I would like to fill in the component, because it's like entirely flexible. I will now start filling it in.
So this is maybe an important side note when you're applying the repeater feature and you're saving your settings, all of a sudden your component might seem empty, and it's not entirely empty. It's basically because the component elements can now be used multiple times and they are interchangeable. So the CMS no longer follows the pre-built content format that was previously there. So to fix that empty content, you simply add the content that you wish to display, like Alex is doing right now. And as you can see, you can add multiple items in one go instead of just adding one component at a time, or one element rather at a time. You can also see in the content environment that you can easily add icons that are already available. You can use your own icons as well, but if you don't want to be looking for any icons, there's some preset icons available. So now we're just adding the content that we previously built in the other page to give you a better look at how the component elements are built.
Maybe we can ask someone of the audience to sing a song, Eva.
Maybe if there are any questions, I could try to answer them for you right now.
Almost there.
I see, Philippe, you joined us later. Glad to have you here as well. If you missed anything, the webinar is being recorded, so the replay will be available later, so you can see what we did.
Maybe I'm going.
It's going too fast. You can't see what he's doing.
I'm going to position this one maybe a bit horizontal like this.
Well, right now he was just adding the content.
Yeah.
So there you go. So we've used a repeater on the first block we created with a paintbrush on the left and the impress with one line of code as a title. So we simply use a repeater on that block, making it possible to add two different blocks without having to code it all over again, or click it, build it together all over again.
I will also set now the responsiveness correct.
In case things are going a bit too fast, Julie, or for anybody else, we'll also be having how-to videos available on how to build content structures, on how to build repeaters, and also on how to build anchors, something we'll be touching on later in the webinar. So then you can just watch the video and pause it whenever you need to, or repeat it whenever you need to, so you can follow along with the steps while you're building. Yeah,
Eva, I will now like replicate this that component to a different unique section. So there was like exactly what we explained in the beginning of the webinar. Now we built like that feature components, and I will use that components to build like two different sections. So this first section here we already built, and now we are going to reinstall that component and build this variant without needing to rebuild it again, and that's quite unique in the SiteManager platform. So you can just go to add section. Of course, all the unique sections that you're building are added to your project library. That was what I was mentioning in the beginning of the webinar. This is the platform library. This is also the private library, but I no need to go into depth right now for that one. So I'm going to install the feature component. And what you see is that it's like instantly pre-filled. So that's also cool. And now I'm just going to also to make that content unique. So
yeah. So instead of having to rebuild the entire component, you can just grab it from the library and just install it, or just add it to your section. And then the most the biggest job on this component would be to switch the content. Yes, Carlo, I can see that you sometimes have components that look empty. That can be a bit shocking or panicking when you're building with repeaters. Nothing went wrong. You just save and exit your design engine and start filling up the content again. So this is completely normal, but it can be a bit of a shocker when you're building that all of a sudden everything seems to have disappeared. So there you go. You can see Alex switched the image from the right side to the left side, and the text is now on the right side. And this is all thanks to repeaters, because it makes the content or the component elements flexible. So instead of having to rebuild the entire block, you can just simply switch positions inside the component.
I'm going to add like that fourth feature.
Yeah. So in the first feature block, we had 3 icons with text next to it. But here we want to have 4 icons, and we can just simply add a block, a content structure with the title and text and the icon in a content environment because of repeaters. So again, we don't have to rebuild the entire block. We can just simply add an extra block. Just make sure you use the right settings. So here the title was a header 1. Just switch it to an H4, just like the other blocks.
Hello?
Content is now placed into the editor itself. Does this automatically update in the content engine? Yes, it does.
Yes.
So you can go inside the content environment, but you can also just type inline. Not sure if Alex.
I'm now going to start building,
before.
except if you need to explain something, because I cannot follow the chat.
That's
only
okay.
have 2 screens, no 3. So if okay for everyone, I'm going to start building like the Cta banner.
Yeah.
Is that
All
okay?
right. Yes.
Right. Cool.
So as you can see, the call to action banner consists of 3 columns, 3 content columns. And we'll be using 3 content structures, one with a default title and a text, one with an image, which was the little arrow, dot arrow in the middle, and one with a default button. So as you can see, Alex is adding content structure again. And we'll be using 3 of those. And we'll be using a horizontal flex on those 3 structures to position them next to each other. There you go. Now we're just going to add content. Alex is setting the percentages of each block to 33%, so they use the full 100% next to each other. We're just adding the default button here. And again, we're opting for a default button and not just a button, because this allows us to choose on the right side. You can see you can choose between a primary and secondary button. So if you pick a default button, you can you can always switch to whatever you need in that specific component. Now we're adding the image, which was the little dotted line. That's the one. And now we again have a default title, a default text inside the content structure. We'll be using a vertical flex here to stack the blocks on top of each other to make sure the title is on top of the text instead of next to it. We're just adding some content here. And now we're gonna add some alignment to the blocks. So each block has a fixed height to make sure that they're all the same height. And the first block will be aligning on the top to make sure that it's on the top of the entire component. The second block will be aligning to middle, and the third block will be aligning to bottom. Alex is just adding some styling here to the title with font weight, color.
Yeah, this is what we explained at the beginning. This is component styling. So I'm now going to defer from the global style sheet. I will also do at the end of building all the different components some changes on the global style sheet as well, Eva, but I'll keep that for the last. Like this.
So we're setting each block to 250 pixels, so they're all the same size. Now we're just checking responsiveness again. So we're switching the percentages, the width of the blocks to 100% to use the full width when we're on mobile screens. Thank you, Simon, for answering that question about domains and subdomains. So we're switching from 33% to 100% here to use the full width. And as you can see in the layers panel, there's a difference between desktop version and mobile version, and it only takes a matter of seconds to make your component responsive.
I think we are now at our last component.
Yes, the quote banner.
The quote banner.
So for the quote banner, again, we'll be using a content structure. On the left side, we have an image, and on the right side, we have a content structure. And inside that content structure, we'll be adding a quote, a default text, and an image. And we'll be positioning them on top of each other, which means we use a vertical flex. So Alex is adding the image on the left side.
That quote I will style using the global style sheet. So that's all. That's maybe a good opportunity over there.
Oh, I can see, Alex, that you put the image inside of the content structure. I think it needs to be outside of the content structure to position it next to it. if I'm not mistaken.
No, I can do it like this as well. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, this is the image for the logo, not the image for.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I understand what. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there are two images.
Yes. The title of a testimonial.
And then the quote. This. Right. This one is too big, I guess. Right. Also so.
So as you can see on the right side, the panel on the right side allows you to style the components layout, switch the alignment.
Yeah, and now we are going to add.
Yeah, and now the image on the left next to the content structure.
Now we'll add Thomas.
Yes.
Like this. All right, let's see how we can make this working. Also, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're also setting the gap to increase the space in between the picture on the left and the text on the right. And again, we're switching to mobile, checking the responsiveness, and you can see you can switch the settings very quickly with code. This would take a while, but here you can just change the settings very easily. So again, switch from 66 or 33% to the full width of 100%. And here you can play around with the settings a bit, see what works best for you.
Okay, this was a code banner.
That was the code banner.
Yeah, let's check the global style sheet.
Let's not forget the anchors as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah. First style sheet and then the anchors.
So we're adding an anchor link to this page. This can be very, this can come in handy when you're building a one-pager.
Yeah. First 5 seconds, the global style sheet, just to make this one working.
Yes.
Yeah, and here we go to text properties.
Yeah, so we're setting the styling for the quote that we used earlier. And this styling will be used all over the website for all quotes that you add, unless you change the styling for that specific component or section. Either. It's possible.
I will also style the buttons. Maybe I will make them a bit larger. Maybe to give everyone an idea. At this moment, the buttons look like this, like this, and we're going to change that one a bit. Let's go to the style sheet. All right. This.
Carlo, where can you add CSS, for example, for a button? Well, you can add general styling for the buttons here in the general style sheet, but you can switch the styling in each component and each section. Like Alex explained in the beginning, you can differ from those global settings. And if necessary, you can also add custom CSS for each element of the page. So the platform is low code or no code as much as possible, but it's also possible to add custom code whenever you want to.
Well, in fact, what I'm doing right now is adding the CSS no code to the code block. But I will show maybe at the end of the webinar what we exactly have done in the code engine. But it's pretty cool to see that every component we no coded or we created no code is actually a beautiful coded block inside the platform. Without going too much into detail, but it's very nice to see, I guess. All right, like this. And see how this behaves. This is better. You see, so everything from the global style sheet is like changed the way how we want it. All right. And now, Eva, I switch to the content view, and I will here put my anchors.
Yes.
I'll go to page properties.
So just to be clear, anchor links are links that connect one content element to a specific other content element on your page. And they can be useful to create an interactive table of content or as a navigation tool on a one-pager, which is what we'll be doing here right now. So technically, an anchor link consists of two parts. The first part is the actual anchor link, which is also always used with the hashtag, and we're setting the hashtag here right now in the page settings. You can add the hashtag under the external URL or one-pager. So this is where we're setting the first part of the anchor link pair. And we're using a name here that we'll be using later again. So now we're going to the corresponding page component. And with the right-click mouse, you can open the component menu and set the anchor. And here we're just reusing the name that we used earlier in the page settings to create the link between the two.
Now going to publish all the pages just to see if everything is working fine, Eva.
Yes.
Now we can see like this. See, let's go. All right, cool. This was the example, and this is what I built. So it like looks a bit the same. So that's great.
Pretty similar. Pat on the back for ourselves.
Yes, maybe there was a question related to the adding some CSS custom. So what I will do is like maybe I quickly show the code engine for people that do have some front-end coding skills. So if you go here, right-click is okay. You can open it in code, for example, and here you beautifully see all the custom components that we have built using the no-code design engine. And what you can see is that, of course, using like the design engine and by editing all the page property styling and all the text styling, the button styling, and you add some CSS over here. But of course, you can also inject your own CSS. Just write it the way you want. So that is and that means, and that is very nice to know, is like SiteManager does not have any limits. Like people are using SiteManager to build this kind of easy websites, no code. Like how long are we now already giving the webinar? Like 50 minutes. And in 50 minutes, I built it like, of course, I exercised it, but I built like an entirely custom landing page in an hour, in less than an hour. But SiteManager is also used to build quite custom websites as well. And of course, the more custom you go, the more code you need. And so it is possible to build this kind of components also by using the own code blocks. So you can really choose, or I will add it from the existing project components. I will add a component from the library. I will previously build it in another project and I want to reuse it in this project. I want to build custom in this project using the no-code design engine, but there is another way of doing this, and that's like building from scratch in code. So you can really build your own code blocks, beautifully separated from each other, not like other site builders, because some other site builders only give like front-end coders access to the full page source code, and that of course can be a hassle. We beautifully separate all the code in the different code blocks, as you can see it over here, like open in code, and you can really change and defer the way you want. You even can start building a component using the no-code engine and then continuing like making that component more custom by adding code blocks in the code module. So this is the way how it goes. Yeah, the way how you can save components to a library, that's a good question. I will see if I can show you. Of course, I can show you. You just go here, you do right click, and you click on Save to Library. And here, of course, I'm a member of Team SiteManager. Here you see all the libraries you have access to. Libraries, private libraries works with slots. I see that in this library, I have 9 slots available. Then you just give your component a name, a description, and then you publish to your library. It's as easy as that. And the moment you publish to your library, it will be available here in this section. So here you see all the libraries again that you have, and here you see all the components you have access to. So this is exactly a library of 91 components as we saw previously. Can you add a background image that covers the full width and height of a section, and how do they scale on mobile? That's a good question. Yes, it is possible. Maybe because we have like reserved 1 hour, but it's really great that you're asking that many questions. So Eva and I already had the idea to send you all a mailing to ask what you would be interested for a next webinar. But to give you a quick answer, Vince, it is possible, of course. So you open, for example, this section in the no-code engine, and then you go to the banner styling. And here in the banner styling, it is possible to add a background image to that banner. This way, it will be like covering the entire width of the entire banner. You need to select the file, and that is something you need to know. You need to add those files here to design images. And then the moment you add like that file to design images, you will be able to select it here. And then here you can see how the behavior should be. So it's also possible to change that behavior depending of your mobile and tablet breakpoints. Yeah, great. Top.
If you take a quick look at our YouTube channel, Vince, there's 2 YouTube videos on how to add a background image, depending on which settings you want to use, where we take you through the steps on how to do it.
John, you're asking, is it possible to animate components, for example, fade in, fade out? Yes, it is possible. In fact, there are 2 options over there. Like here, when I click this image and I go here to Style Element, you see that here in this design panel, you see animation settings. You see that you can activate reveal effects, and then you can here choose fade in, fade out, and define what you want. Of course, it's also possible to add some custom CSS to it. But there also is another nice thing, John, and I don't know if someone of you heard from Lottie. Lottie is a great animation library, and it's also possible just to add, as we are adding here just clean images, it's also possible in Element Library to add a Lottie file to it. And that way you can also, how can you add a downloadable mail to button? Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, we have, like in our library, we have a lot of components. Here we have a form component, and a form component, you can like build the form you want. Build the form you want to have. I don't know exactly. Maybe there is a form here on the bottom, like this. Here you can see. Who was asking the question? Amber. Okay, here, Amber, you can see how you can like build that form. You see in the footer also a couple of elements, but one of the elements is the opt-in form, and to a form you can always like add form actions, and the form actions could be like a default mail, but it's also possible to define other actions. For example, to sync your form with MailChimp, to sync your form with Google Sheets or with Zapier. So you can really do whatever you want. It's even possible to connect to another multiple destinations, but therefore you need to install our form API on the project. But with this, you can really set your form action. And then like the next step you need to do is really building your form. And building your form is quite easy. It's like adding some elements on top of each other. And here we have like the library of all the elements that you can use. The form in this footer is a bit condensed to the form that we have in the component library. So I suggest that you just select from our library here one of those blocks, and then you will see what kind of more options you will have. Yeah, absolutely, Julie. Building a form would be a good video. In fact, we are a bit waiting on that one because forms, and that will be for next quarter on the agenda. It will be possible to build forms also using the no-code engine in the very near future. So what will it be? You will, for example, now you only have like two structures. You have a card structure and you have a content structure, but like a form structure will be added to the no-code engine. And that way you can add that form structure to your components the way you want. And then you can just drag and drop all those form elements that you see over here. And that way it will be like very easy to build custom forms the way you want. Right.
But to be clear, it's already possible to add forms.
Yeah, absolutely. It's already possible, and yeah. Maybe to give a small teaser for next month, as we have a lot of people online, I will maybe drop this one into the chat. Like this. This is already like the opt-in page for our next webinar. Our next webinar will be on the 20th of April. And in that webinar, we will show you how to build blogs no-code. We have like a new module coming up. It's our dynamic content module. And with the dynamic content module, it will be easy to build blogs, portfolios, product libraries, and all that kind of stuff. And in this webinar next month, we will show you how to do that also no code. I really like this format, Eva, so let's do it next time again.
Yes, definitely.
A lot. Thank you for that. I don't know if there are more questions. All right. I think we are done that way. Just maybe have a quick check to my mobile view, and I see that everything looks beautifully. So yeah, we built in 1 hour this landing page, and I hope that you will try out SiteManager soon. Yeah, the anchors, Nicolas, I already showed, but if you want, I can repeat, no worry. So here you see like the 2 pages that I added to the platform. In the page management, you see like users and features. But in this case, those 2 pages aren't really real pages. Of course, the user page, that's like the one page where all the content is on. And this feature page is in fact an empty page. But the question is, how can we let this navigation behave to like scroll on that one page? And that is by adding anchors. So the anchors here, you select just page properties, and in the page properties, you can here see external URL or one pagers. If you like add here hashtag features, and then of course in this page you add hashtags users like this, like here hashtag users. That's the first step that you need to do. And then, of course, you need to link that hashtag to the right section on your page you want to scroll the button to. And that you do by just doing here a right click, edit anchor, and here you see that I also entered users. And this way, it works like if you are on the page, okay, and you scroll, that it scrolls to that specific section. When you are using already SiteManager and you don't see that option in the advanced settings, that might be your question. You can go to upgrade project, and it's not that you need to pay for it, but here with I guess it is CMS updates, I guess, and here it will be possible to I think it's called external URLs. So you
external
need
links pages.
external
It's called.
links.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And it is in CMS updates. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Great. Cool. That is the way. Can you make the navigation move along with the page while scrolling? I don't know exactly what.
Yes, you can. I think Amber means that the navigation bar stays fixed at the top of the page while you're scrolling down.
Okay, yeah.
So this is something you can set with the design settings. So when you click the little paintbrush at the top, this is something you can set with the design settings in the design panels.
All right.
Thank you, Julie, for the ideas for videos. We'll have a closer look at that if we'll make webinars or maybe some how-to videos to help you out with that.
That's great. Cool.
All right.
I think this, was very great that you were with so many to follow this webinar. Thank you for the emoticons that you were pouring. That's always nice. Oh, great. Thank you.
We're glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining this webinar. Submit for next webinar Wednesday on the 20th of April. Go to our website and sign up. If people of you don't have a SiteManager account yet, just create one on our website and please reach out to us. Thank you very much. And hope to see and hear you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone.